Believe I left off with November 2023 being arrested second time, and this arrest was made for the Resolve incident where Amber sprayed me with chemicals, and she admitted to doing that in the police report. Even stated that my head was in her lap. Um, but to move forward, I'm gonna get into some of the legal situation that I'm in currently. I had my first probable cause conference. Now, the lawyer that we initially hired for the first set of charges for October, for the accusation made in September, is Tyler Villio. Now, he sent me, after I bonded out the second time, he sent me a copy of each police report involving the charges that were being brought up against me. The first was for the accusation made in September. The second one was for the Resolve incident. And I pointed out to him as soon as he sent this to me, I said, so you're telling me I was arrested for her spraying me with chemicals in the face? And he said, well, I haven't been retained on these new charges yet. And I don't understand that. If you retain someone to be your lawyer, you retain them to represent you. He knew these charges were coming, and what he wanted to represent me on these second set of charges, which to me are as simple as I think it hit somebody's desk and they're like, oh, Roderick and Amber are back at it again. Go get them. They didn't read it to see that I made this police report, that I was assaulted with chemicals. He wanted another $10,000. I said, this is absurd. This is, to me, this is straightforward. You look at this paperwork and you see that I should not have been arrested. I say, screw it. I will represent myself. I try to represent myself. I go to court, and it's supposed to be a probable cause conference. That's where prosecution sits down with your representation and says, here's the evidence, and they actually make a decision then whether they're going to move forward with it or just toss it out. It's supposed to be like that. I showed up, and they wouldn't let me speak with anybody. They said, you are not allowed to. You have to have an attorney do it for you. It wouldn't, literally told me I could not represent myself. Instead, when me and my mother showed up to this probable cause conference to try and settle this, because it just didn't make sense to me. How do I make a police report? I'm assaulted with chemicals, and I get arrested for it. And the lady that came out said, well, here you go. I told her while I was there, I'm here for the probable cause conference. She comes back out and she hands me a piece of paper, and on this paper is a plea offer. And I go, whoa, ma'am, I don't want a plea offer. I want to talk to somebody. I would like to speak to the prosecutor. She said, I'm sorry, that's all you get. And she scurried off. And so I went downstairs of the courthouse. I went up to one of the windows and I was like, ma'am, I don't really understand this. I want to talk to somebody. I'm being handed this plea offer. I don't want this. I want to talk to somebody. This doesn't make sense. And she said, well, you can't do that. You are not allowed to talk to somebody. You need to get an attorney to do it for you. We can get you court appointed if you need. I was like, well, I guess if that's the only way I'm going to get to talk to somebody about this, then that's what I have to do. So I was then given paperwork to get a court appointed. I filled it out. Understand, I haven't had a court date for that set of charges since that first one where I tried to represent myself and they told me I couldn't. I haven't had no paperwork about court dates for it, nothing. But we'll get to that later. Next thing that occurred in December. And I'm really only talking about this because I think it's important to recognize that the way Amber felt about me. Amber violated the no contact in December of 2023. I was playing a video game with my daughter. We were in a phone call while we were doing it so we could talk to each other. And her mother piped up and was like, Kira, when does your dad want his Christmas presents? Like, I was really anxious. I told Kira, I was like, man, I'm not supposed to talk to your mom, Kira. But Amber ended up showing up at my trailer park and dropping off presents for me by the mailbox. And wasn't trying to play video games with me. Now, if I really was such a horrible person as she said in this trial recently, we'll get to that later, but she said in this trial, I've been beating on her for years. If that was really the case, would she be trying to hang out with me, giving me Secret Santa cards and wanting to play video games? No. Um, to move forward, summer of 2024. During this time, my daughter is really going through it. Um, I received multiple occasions. My daughter reached out via text or phone call saying, "Dad, I'm scared. Dad, help me. Dad, Mom's being mean." She told me her mom called her a nasty bitch. Um, I just did my best to console Kira and be there for her and explain to her, "Look, Kira, this isn't your mom saying this. This is your mom's mental illness. This isn't. She doesn't really feel that way about you." Um, And at one point, my daughter reaches out and she says, "Dad, I'm coming to your house." I said, "Why? What do you mean, Kira? What's going on?" She said, "Mom is being mean to me. She's laying down. She's going to sleep. And when she does, I'm going to leave and come to your house. Either you can come get me or I'm walking there. One way or another, I'm not staying here." My daughter, I tried to get her to stay. She would absolutely refuse to. She straight up told me, "If you don't come get me, Dad, I'm walking to your house." Now, I'm not allowed to go there. I have no contact with Amber. I told Kira, "Just wait. Look, first of all, if you're gonna leave your mom's, you need to let her know. I would really prefer if you woke her up and told her what you want to do." I said, if you're just gonna walk no matter what, look, I'll meet you outside of the apartments. I'm not. I couldn't. What am I supposed to do? Just let her walk by herself? No. I said, "Wait 20 minutes. It'll take me 15 minutes to walk over there." So I walked over. I waited across the street, where I'm legally within my rights to be. And Kira did. She walked out. She said she didn't tell me this until we got back to my house because I did. I preached and begged and pleaded that she in some way let her mom know. She didn't. All she did was left a note on the coffee table in front of where her mom was sleeping and said, "I went to my dad's." I had her send text messages and let her mom know where she was at. And we didn't hear anything till about 3 in the morning. Kira's asleep. Police show up and they're demanding that I drag my 10-year-old daughter out of bed and force her to go back to her mom's. And I showed them the text messages. There was 2 cops that showed up, a male and a female. The male turned around and walked away when I showed him these messages. And as far as I understood it, police are not supposed to get involved with this kind of thing. It's a private civil matter, and they're supposed to tell you to go file a motion. But the lady cop did not. She absolutely demanded that I went and woke up Kira at 3 in the morning so she could take her back to her mom's. I did this. She went back. Shortly later, that's summer of 2024, I get a phone call from my friends Bill and Michelle. They hear Amber's name over the police scanner, and they have a friend that stays in Amber's apartment complex, and they find out that there's been a series of incidences the last few days. So I look into this, and then I get a call from the school that says Amber didn't pick up Kira. She was supposed to be parent pickup this Wednesday, and she's standing out here, and her mom didn't show up to pick her up. Can you come get her? I was like, absolutely, I'll be right there. So I go pick up Kira. She doesn't really know what's been going on. She knows that the police have been talking to Amber lately, so I really start digging into this. I obtain a few police reports, and then I find out there's more because more stuff had just happened. She was throwing stuff at the school bus. She had her car parked out in the middle of the road, banging her head on the bumper, throwing stuff at passerbys in their cars, flipping people off. And the cops showed up and took her to the hospital. Now, this was the second time the cops had shown up and taken her to the hospital that day. They took her initially that day, and then the hospital let her out. She went home, and then the cops showed up and had to bring her back to the hospital. When this happened, they sent her to a mental institution in Gratiot County. I had this information because I acquired these police reports, and I was worried. I reached out to the hospital, and they told me she's on her way to Gratiot County. We can't really tell you more. And I'm like, that's okay. And I didn't know what to do, so I did what I feel like any concerned parent would do when you read these things that I read on the police reports. I mean, the last one, the cops and the medical professionals put in the police report that they evaluated Amber and had determined that she was unable to care for herself or her child. This was really concerning for me. Amber had been a really good mom to Kira for forever. I mean, I would never want to speak badly about Amber's parenting. I think that a lot of this is to blame on her mental challenges. Um, but I filed to have a change in custody done. I mean, what was I supposed to do? I had custody of my daughter. I had it for 10 days, just shy of 2 weeks, before they let her out. And I mean, her boss had came and visited me and was like at his wits end. He's, I don't know what to do. She's not showing up to work. The housing commission had been reaching out to him because he was listed as emergency contact, and he came to me because he didn't know what to do anymore. He's like, I don't want to have to fire her, but she's not coming to work. She's not doing anything. And then she gets sent to the mental institution. So she ended up losing her job there. I filed to get a change in custody. I wrote a big, long, handwritten letter to the judge, and I even put on there, I don't think what's best for Kira is for me to just assume full custody. Kira deserves both her mom and her dad in her life. And so I said, I'm asking the courts to set up 50-50 if Amber can start taking her meds. You know, she's got to be able to care for Kira and show up. You know, she didn't pick her up from school. She wound up in the, anyway, so I ended up going to court for that. Amber gets out of the mental institution, reaches out to my family, says, I'm home now. I'm on meds again, and I would like my daughter. I mean, me and my family are not going to withhold Kira from her mom. We all love Kira, and we all know that Kira loves her mom. So we give Kira back to her. We trust that she's not lying. She is, in fact, on her meds again. And then I have this court date. My daughter was so sure that after everything that she's been through and everything that's been going on, that she would be living with me when this is all said and done. That was not the case. The judge asked me right away, Judge Oostdijk says, why are we here today, Broderick? I said, well, I feel like any concerned parent that reads what I read on this page of this police report that I've provided with my petition to the courts, that Amber was unable to care for herself or her child. I feel like any parent that reads that's going to find themselves where I found myself today, Your Honor. He asked Amber what her response was. She said, oh, yeah, that happened, but I'm on meds now and I'm fine. The judge said, I'm not changing anything, and he adjourned court. I was a little devastated. Well, a month later, Amber petitions the court. She wants to move to Indiana with my daughter. We live in the middle of Michigan, right here. So Indiana's, I mean, it's the next state down, but it's a big change for Kira. Kira's lived in Big Rapids her entire life. The whole 10 years she's been alive, this is where she's lived. She has friends, she has family, a support system. She's doing well in school. The courts let Amber move down there with her. Amber didn't show up at all for me to see Kira. Not one time the whole time that Kira lived in Indiana. Only time I seen Kira for the few months that she did live down there, my friend John here, I've probably seen him walk behind me a couple times. He drove down to Indiana and got her for me. Amber didn't come pick her up. She ended up being up here for a week. And then she does end up coming and getting Kira after a week. The courts told me, wait, don't file for custody or nothing. Give her a chance to get up here and get her. So I did. Shortly after, Amber breaks up with her new husband that she had moved in down there with. Moves back up here to Michigan. Oh man, I wish I was more organized. I want to make a note of something. During the petition for Amber to move down south, the judge asked me if I had any questions or concerns. I said, yes, Your Honor, I have a few. I said, in terms of concerns, I'm concerned about Kira's well-being down here. The guy that Amber went and married, she had first hooked up with this guy when she was 14 and he was 27. My daughter's 11. If if you at 27 can look at a 14-year-old like that, you're not someone I want around my little girl. I said, they have a criminal history together. Lauren Beckwith got Amber into doing meth and breaking into houses. That's how she wound up in foster care. When I said, and as for a question, I'm going to ask that the court hears my daughter out on this. She may only be 11, but my daughter's really smart. I mean, she's really just smart as fuck. But I didn't even get to finish asking it. I got as far as I would ask that the court hears out my daughter, and he muted me. He said, the father's not listening. I muted him. I will send out the new parenting time paperwork. And ended the Zoom call.